KTIB has had many valuable employees whose voices you never heard. Today we talk with Keitha Nelson, whose behind-the-scenes work, in addition to her New York background, makes for some interesting stories on how she adjusted to South Louisiana culture. Keitha Nelson, how's everything?
Things are going too well. I just graduated about a week ago, and I'm looking for a job.
All right. Well, let's start from the beginning. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from New York City.
Okay. So the obvious question, you graduate from high school. How'd you end up at Nichols?
Okay, I was recruited to Nichols. I ran track, and I got a track scholarship to Nichols, so I decided to come. And I did, and I'm glad that I did.
Mm-hmm. Now, help me out. Didn't part of the track and field program get canceled at Nichols?
Yeah, they canceled the program for the males. The male indoor season, I believe, is no longer existent. But the women's team is still there, and they're still running strong. Did you have any plans to go, beyond collegiate track, like Olympics or anything like that? When I was younger, maybe when I was my freshman year in high school, but as I grew older, I realized I didn't enjoy it that much. When I got to college, I stopped enjoying track completely because it was no longer fun. It was really a business. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't have your coaches aren't as personal as they are in high school. In college, it's really about the money, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And that took the fun out of running track for me. Mm-hmm. So my Olympic dreams flew out the window. All I wanted to do was to pay for school and get through it, and that was about it.
Now, what exactly is your degree program at Nichols?
Mass communication with a concentration in broadcast journalism.
Okay. Now, when you go into the working world, is your plans to be in front of the mic or in front of the camera or behind the scenes?
Those are my plans. I ultimately would like to be a news anchor, but of course, at first you have to start out at the very bottom, which I'm starting to realize. I'm applying for jobs as desk assistants and editing. So eventually I'd like to be an anchor, but I will have to start at the very bottom, and I do want to be an audio talent.
Now, are there any particular individuals growing up that you watched on television or heard on the radio that influenced you to go in this direction?
Well, of course. For many young African-American women, Oprah Winfrey is our big-time idol who we all look up to, and most of us aspire to be, and I do aspire to be somewhat like Oprah Winfrey. Mm-hmm. I found out that she also started in broadcast, and she went to a small school in Tennessee, like I went to a small school in Louisiana, and she is definitely an inspiration for me. She came from very humble backgrounds, and I hope to one day be, if not more successful, than as successful as she is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing I like to ask people who are from out of state who come down here, especially for college, when you first got on to Nichols campus and in Thibodaux, did you go through any kind of culture shock?
Big time. Okay. For those of you who know about New York, people there are cold out, I will say it. I mean, compared to the people in the South. And in Thibodaux especially, people are just so friendly and so warm, and it was really hard to get used to people smiling at you and waving at you, and it was hard for me to start waving back and being friendly because you get taught for so long not to say hi to strangers and just to look straight forward and keep on walking. But I learned that, people here consider that to be rude, so I started to wave and smile at everyone, and that was a big-time culture shock for me. The food, had to get used to all this seafood, but I like it though, I do. There are a lot of big changes, but the hardest one for me was getting used to people being so nice because you automatically assume they want something from you, coming from a big city. So it was hard to accept people being so friendly. Mm-hmm.
What about all this rain? Weather-wise, is it a big difference?
You know what? I don't mind the rain because I'm coming from a place where it snows, so you have to wear boots all the time. So I didn't mind the rain at all. I mean, I love the weather down here because it's so warm, and I hate the cold. So it was not that hard for me to run away from New York and come down here.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing, to kind of change shoes for a minute, when people found out you were from New York, did they ask you any interesting questions about New York?
Not interesting. I hate to say it, but the questions are so redundant, kind of, I don't want to say stupid, but I was like, leave me alone. I got to ask stupid questions like, are buildings really that tall? Is the snow really white? Just little foolish questions. I'm sorry. I got tired of hearing them. You know what? And I hate hearing people saying that they just can't wait to go to New York and move there. Trust me, visit it first, okay, for at least a week or two before you decide to pick up and move there, because it's going to be a big-time culture shock from someone coming from a place like this where everyone is so nice, because people are not friendly. I mean, you'll find a few people here and there, but the majority of them are not going to be nice.
Is it safe to assume most people up there don't talk like Regis Philbin?
Yes, it's very safe to assume that.
That's right. Captain Lee, don't you understand anything? That's been a real positive influence on you down here.
You know, it's funny. I'm really glad. I'll say time and time again, and I'm glad that I came here because I did learn a lot. And despite the culture shock and a few things, I was happy to come down here because I learned a lot. And in broadcast, I'm going to have to travel quite a bit and have to go to little towns such as this one. So I'm happy that I came down here and experienced such a small town. Coming from New York, I know how to handle a big city as well as how to handle a smaller one. So I'm happy that I came down here.
Now, overall here at KTIB, station's been on now a little over 50 years. What are the things that you picked up on radio that maybe you didn't know about the business coming into it?
Radio personalities are crazy. No, I'm kidding. Pick up on. I mean, I learned a lot about the system. We now moved on to SIMI, and I learned how to use a racket system. A lot of technical things I learned from working at KTIB.
And I guess also sometimes what you may or may not have to do when things go haywire that you didn't expect to.
Oh yeah, thinking about things did go haywire quite a bit here, but it worked out for the best in the long run. We figured things out, and it worked out.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, it's good to interview you, and hopefully when we play this tape down the road, be it in a few months, maybe again in a few years, we'll be able to see you on some, major market somewhere giving us the news.
I really hope so. I pray so. I believe it'll happen for me.
Well, take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too.
Keitha Nelson, part of the nucleus that has kept KTIB your local station for over 50 years.